All right, everyone, it is the moment you have all been waiting for when Saagar and I unveil Rising's official list of winners and losers for the week.
That's right.
Who's your loser, Saagar?
Okay, very easy one to predict. Steve Bannon. That's right, folks. Stephen K. Bannon, architect of the Trump 2016 campaign. There's been a lot of talk I've seen on the internet, Krystal, which another reason I want to address this a little bit more in the show, is to say there were all these people who were attacking Steve Bannon and saying, see, the whole movement itself was a fraud. And the reason that really bothers me is, I mean, obviously, I consider myself part of that, but regardless of the leaders, even if you think I am whatever, is that the people themselves who support it, they are not frauds. The people who support a movement believed in Steve Bannon. The people who spent and delivered all this money to this We Build the Wall PAC or whatever, you cannot disqualify or you cannot attack them for being well-meaning and having political convictions and wanting to support somebody in politics. It does not matter if you don't like them. If you don't like them, or if it doesn't matter if you don't like what they believe. And if you really want to win, you need to go and convince them.
You got to win them over.
It's on you. And that's the thing that has been really bothering me about this. I've especially been seeing from these like establishment Republicans being like, see, it was all a grift. And I'm like, you're the grift.
Right.
And I'm like, you're the people who have stolen money from grandmothers and so many others, or be like, the left is coming for our stuff. And then you take that money legally and still buy your boats and still buy your houses, and you do nothing for many of those grandmas and those single moms and many of those other people who sent you money because they believed in you just as much as Steve Bannon defrauded others. So all this shows to me is something an ever-present theme of this show. These people are corrupt. They're very corrupt.
Yes.
And I guess maybe the real losers are the people who believe them in the first place. But I don't want to disparage them because it's not their fault.
The establishment have written the rules so that their grift is legal.
Yes.
Right.
That's all. That's it. That's all this is.
Right. Yeah. And also, I mean, and then also when it's not legal, oftentimes they still get away with it. Let's talk about the bankers who crashed the economy and got off scot-free.
You get retroactive
bonuses,
legality.
Right?
It's really amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's be clear about all of that. But I think it is really important to note that it disgusts me when people try to frame the leadership of a group that has taken advantage of a group as emblematic of that group.
That's right.
So there was a legitimate sentiment that was tapped into in the Trump 2016 campaign. There were also illegitimate sentiments that were tapped into. But there's this desire to dismiss the whole thing as this was all fake and this was all fraud and all the people that went along with it. And number one, look, just as a political strategy, you should be trying to win those people over.
Exactly.
You should believe in the power of the case and your vision and the direction you want to take the country in enough to think that you can win those people with your argument, with your vision, with your policies, rather than just trying to push them and shame them out of the public square. So I think that is all very well said. Yeah. My loser this week is one Richard Neal. So obviously we've been following this story very closely here. Ryan Graham and his team over at The Intercept have done a phenomenal job breaking down the smear campaign against Neal's progressive opponent, Mayor Alex Morse of Holyoke. Whole smear campaign. Oh, it turns out that the college students tried to entrap him. It was just a few members. It wasn't the whole rank and file. Then it turns out that the Massachusetts Democratic Party was complicit in helping to launch this smear attack against Alex Morse. And to be perfectly honest with you, before all of this happened, maybe Alex had a shot to win, but it was a pretty long shot at that point. And it just wasn't getting the energy and the attention that a Jamal Bowman got or that a Cori Bush got that enabled them to overcome incredibly long odds to be able to win. Well, things may be turning, and it is a long way from being over. Alex, you would have to say, is still very much the underdog. But they got new polling back showing this week, number one, this attack has backfired. It has made, on balance, people more likely to support Alex Morse. And the race has tightened.
In these smear campaigns, this is always the way it works, especially during such an orchestrated plot like this one. And Alex was so unfair. And look, I don't have a dog in this race. But one of the things that I've always found mystifying, and Ryan, this is why Ryan is such a powerful and such an intelligent figure. He's been laser focused on Richie Neal from the beginning.
Yes.
He asked AOC and Bernie in a joint interview months ago, almost a year ago, being like, are you guys going to support the primary challenger of Richie Neal? Because Ryan understands power, which is that Okay, you knock off Eliot Engel, that is good. He was House Foreign Affairs. Richie Neal is House Ways and Means, the chairman of the most powerful committee. Congress and the House specifically, the people, they appropriate the people's money. The single most important chairmanship in the entire Congress. That's why you have to be laser focused.
And this dude is bought and paid for. More corporate PAC money than anyone else.
He's just as he's one of your most standard issue corporate Dems that you've ever seen, and maybe even more so. That is what if these progressives truly want to enact change, truly want to see their agenda so much more, you have to focus on that. And the fact that it didn't garner the same amount of support that like an AOC against Joe Crowley or Jamal Bowman against Eliot Engel, I think has always spoken to me about how a lot of these progressives just don't understand power whatsoever. So it is good that they're beginning to focus on it now.
Well, there's just like such a dearth of infrastructure still.
Yeah.
You know, it's still
true.
really being built. I mean, I think we have to give a lot of credit to Justice Dems who pioneered this strategy. Mm-hmm. This is only their second cycle. Right. It is actually incredible. It doesn't happen overnight, but the fact that this smear campaign was exposed, I think, has given Alex a real shot in this race. And you see outside groups now coming in trying to save Richie Neal. You see establishment types coming out and endorsing him, trying to boost him up. It just shows you that he really has a true fight on his hands, and Alex Morse is in striking distance here. Who's your winner?
Okay, my winner is President Obama. And I know President Obama seems to be a common winner here on Rising. True. But look, we have to, again, after a week of the Democratic National Convention, after the triumph of aesthetics over substance, this is the ultimate triumph of Barack Obama and his legacy. And all public polling currently indicates that Joe Biden is very likely to win the presidency. Now, it obviously couldn't happen, or it may not happen. There are a lot of other reasons to believe that it could be thwarted by the Trump campaign. And if it is, it would be because of the triumph of President Obama. But in this week, this is his convention. You can call it Joe Biden's, but this is really all about saving Barack Obama's legacy in 8 years in the White House. That the idea that he was this, person who came in and enacted all this incredible change, and it's just on these idiot Americans for rejecting him and not seeing the light in the Obama legacy. I think that's what this whole convention is about. The whole primary was really about that, was really a referendum on Obama himself. And of course, he couldn't let it go any other way. So President Obama, by far, my winner for the week coming out of the DNC. Even though he didn't give all that great of a speech, he is kind of the hidden hand behind Biden, the hidden hand behind the team that is propping up Biden, the campaign infrastructure, the policy infrastructure. Everything is an Obama third term, is to build upon that.
I don't know what you're talking about. He brought Nicole Wallace to tears with that speech.
That's right.
Saagar.
Slayed. What was it? Maddow. He slayed her.
Slayed Rachel Maddow. So, no, it's absolutely correct. It's an interesting point that you make, though. If Biden does lose, it'll be because of this triumph of aesthetics over substance. But my winner goes right along with that, which is the Never Trumpers, who have basically effectively colonized the Democratic Party in an unholy coalition to make sure that the left absolutely stays sidelined for as long as completely possible. And they also, why are they able to make common cause here? John Kasich at the frickin' fork in the road. And it's because there's no substance, right? It was a substance-free DNC. Completely absent, almost truly completely absent of policy. We don't know what a 100-day agenda looks like. We talked about PPE and like ginning up production of the tests. Okay, good. We need to do that. Sure. But to go through an entire convention in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of a Great Depression, in the midst of a potential foreclosure crisis, and not talk about those basic things in an attempt to make sure that it stays sort of vague and amorphous enough to keep people like John Kasich and Meg Whitman and all these other old, 1996 Republicans that they rolled out for the convention. Right. They have they colonized the Never Trumpers, they colonized MSNBC first, and now they've effectively colonized the entire Democratic Party. So this week is their triumph as well.
You can have them, my friends. All right.
Next week on Rising, friends Zed Jelani, Ryan Grimm will, of course, be here. We're going to be talking a lot about the Republican National Convention. It's going to be just as great as the Dems was. As always, we'll be following all the latest news about the stimulus and anything else that comes up.
That's right. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of our videos. And don't forget to like and share as well. And we'll see you all on Monday.
Have a great weekend, guys.